Welcome back. We're here with Gina and Brian, and we're going to continue in our quest to understand these principles of excellence that Jim Collins is proposing. And now we're going to talk about the flywheel and the doom loop. What is this?
The flywheel is a metaphor for organizational change, and the metaphor is it takes a lot of energy to get the flywheel moving, but as the flywheel gets moving, then it takes less and less, and it starts moving under its own inertia and starts to carry itself.
My understanding is that, and over it's consistent practice in the right direction over a long period of time that then thus builds momentum. And then at some point, that's when you kind of break through. But the first part is really building that over time, over momentum. It's not one program, it's not one leader, it's not one thing. It's over time building it and doing that consistently and persistently.
I'll tell you, in some of the examples in this echo my own experience in this is working with other clients is, there's a lot of resistance to change in the beginning. And that's normally when it's hardest to get it off the ground, and it's the most vulnerable is in the beginning. But after getting through the first stages of that and building up that inertia on the flywheel, that's when you start moving towards that breakthrough where it starts sustaining on its own. And it's not like it's the consultant's idea or some one external idea. You start hearing people say it's our idea, and then they start to, if you will, the flywheel kind of locks and it starts moving.
So, in what he's sort of mentioning, the doom loop is the obverse concept, right? Like when does happen? When does that happen? What do we know about the doom loop?
The doom loop is when you go from either good, mediocrity, and spiral down based on your own consistent patterns and processes inside of it.
What are some of the hints that oftentimes lead to a doom loop that he's sort of mentioning? Do you recall?
Well, I think it's a lot of it is I think the key for the flywheel is momentum over time, and so sometimes that doesn't take 1 year, 2 years. It may take 3-4 years to build the momentum and accelerate it. And for companies who kind of just want to skip over that, or just have 1 or 2 programs and services, or whatever the case may be, or products that are really good, and we're like, oh, we're building momentum, and then they get into this doom loop of skipping that that really gradual process of building that momentum that's critical to accelerate the growth.
Right. And I think this is important to understand because, and I don't know what your experience is, but my experience as a consultant and also working with organizations is oftentimes, of course, they want a quick fix.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
They want a quick fix here and let's do a program here. And then oftentimes they put a timeline on it, and whatever the time is, let's say 2025, we're going to be winning, and this is what it is, and this is the program. This starts, and we are changing this organization through this program, and we have our glorious leader, and he or she presents it, and then everything changes.
Yes.
That's the hope, right?
Yes. Some of my engagements, instant gratification isn't fast enough.
Right.
It's everybody wants to. A weight loss analogy is a good one because everybody wants to do the quick fad diet that gets them back on track instead of changing the long-term habits, attitudes, and behaviors that will get you to sustainable.
Interesting analogy. If you use the diet approach, what happens typically when you do a fast weight loss? What happens?
You hit a plateau.
You hit a plateau,
and then what?
And then you gain it back.
You gain it back, right? It's like it's not solving anything.
Because you're not changing the root cause through challenges. Yeah.
Interesting. That's fascinating. What does it conjure up for you?
I love that analogy. Actually, it makes sense. Because I think we live in a society where everything's a quick fix, instant gratification. We want it done then and there, and the process that it takes, a transformation process that it takes over time, is critical. But when you're if you are having this framework and you have one solution to it, that doesn't make you great. Instantly, you're great over time. And so I think that quick fix society is just ingrained in us to think we want and expect results quickly.
Yeah. This is deep stuff. Students, I hope that you get that, because this is really a conversation about more than just organizations. This is more a conversation about life and living life in a superior, in an extraordinary way, right? And it reminds me of Aristotle, ancient philosophy, ancient wisdom, and we picked up on that in some other lectures, is that saying, you know what, excellence is a habit. It is, and virtue is a habit. It's something that we do every day, right? We almost don't notice it because it's basically baked into our actions. And it's not something that comes in every now and then. Like, okay, well, here I'm going to eat a healthy drink or a healthy food, and now I'm going to feel better. I'm going to take the vitamin pill. I'm going to do the quick fix here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't change much. It may change something temporarily, clearly, but in terms of what we're talking about here, organizational excellence, yeah, it doesn't, cannot work, right? It's like too clear when you see it that way. It's like, of course, why would you expect one CEO coming in saying, we're going to change the whole organization by tomorrow or by 2020 or whatever it may be, and then say, all right, this is going to work, and we're going to dole out bonuses here and there so that you adjust your behavior, and then everything is going to be fine. Right? But I'm curious, how many times do you see these kind of programs, these approaches, these quick fix approaches in business or in your organizations?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, right?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Right.
In a lot of that's driven by your customer too. I mean, you know, they've got to show results. Quick. Quick. And some of the, especially when you look at the root causes of some of these, they're not quick fixes. And the most important person in that is not the consultant that's providing it's the organization to take it on themselves to change.
And what kind of leader does it take to even like engage in that conversation of transformation, as you were saying? What kind of leader? We're going back to chapter 2. But,
level 5 leader?
Level 5.
Yeah, but what is it in that level 5 that allows that to happen? That
humble and
the humility,
right?
The humility, because to just accept, you know what, we're not going to have a quick fix.
Right.
We're not going to be able to transform this organization quickly in like the next year or something. We're going to have to work on this hard, and we're going to start with transformation, and it may need to start on the top, and then we need to maybe change people, right? Get some of the wrong people off the bus, get the right people on the bus, and maybe we need to readjust what we're doing and just more deeply and with intention think about why we're here, what we're doing and how we're doing it, right? So that we can sustain ourselves. That's not easy. Right? That's absolutely not easy. That's why in many organizations that sort of he was looking at, 15 years, they were mediocre, right? Only then it started. And it sort of didn't have the quick results like in other organizations you can see where there's the superstar leader that comes in and then maybe cuts cost and the stock price goes up as a result of that, and maybe other kinds of fads. And unfortunately, the financial markets aren't that smart. They're people too, the investors, right? And they're sort of reacting to some fad, some news, something here, something there. And they don't really know what the organization is going through, what the organization is like, and so it takes them time to understand what's happening, and you need to educate them. And so especially in publicly listed organizations, the short-term pressure is on. Is on. You need to produce results very quickly, quickly. And so such a transformation process is difficult to do. And oftentimes it ends in this doom loop. And many of the organizations that start that way, that start with here's the hero, here's the story, here's the quick fix, end up in that mess. Right? And then mergers and acquisitions typically are sort of a quick fix to sort of gloss over that problem. But as I think you mentioned, this is a root cause issue, right? And many organizations don't necessarily have the humility to accept that or confront the brutal facts, right?
Exactly.
Or do all of the things that we're walking through in terms of these principles that Collins provides. Wonderful, thank you very much. And students, I'm just trying to wrap up here because we're getting towards the end of the book, and I want to make sure that we connect these various principles, because ideally you see how they're all connected, right? That level 5 leadership is connected with the right people on the bus, that only that allows you to confront the brutal facts. That when you do that, then you can have the conversations about what it is that you're about, why you're doing what you're doing, create that hedgehog, that simple principle. And then when you have that, then you can create this culture that sustains this, that can function and enliven the organization beyond the leader that is in charge. And that then, when you do that, when that culture is in place, that you can use technologies and other kinds of things to accelerate it. And then when you accelerate it in the right way, around the principle, around the center of the hedgehog, then that whole organization starts slowly but surely to get into this flywheel motion and gets better and better and better and better. And you won't even notice, really, because it's sort of part of your habit, right? The obverse is happening is when you don't do this kind of work, when you just start at the end and say, we're going to do quick fix here, quick fix there, and that's when the doom loop occurs. So I want you to look at that. I want you to look at some of the communication that you can read in the newspapers, in the business press, etc. And oftentimes you will see the news is much more flashy, is more about actually what Collins warns of and says this is maybe the start of a doom loop.